More on this when I bring in our NFL lead insider, Jonathan Jones. And JJ, I want to talk about this, looking at Malik Willis and what he's done so far as QB2, now elevated as QB1. Thoughts on what you've seen from him, and what's the rumbling about their QB situation with Love trying to get healthy?
So Malik Willis played incredibly well, and we all knew when he came out of Liberty that he needed to sit a little bit. He needed to learn the NFL. And so that's what Tennessee was. He probably shouldn't have gotten in as early as he did when he was in Tennessee. And then they finally ultimately cut bait with him when he didn't really mesh with the new offensive scheme that Brian Callahan and that group brought to Nashville. He goes to the Green Bay Packers, and I got to say, this is a heck of a job by Matt LaFleur and his staff there in Green Bay, because probably 28 to 30 teams would have said, you know, Malik Willis can't win you any games. And now look at what he has done. So credit to Malik Willis for sticking with it. Obviously credit to that coaching staff for getting him ready. You know, I'm a voter for MVP and Coach of the Year and whatnot. We're just 3 weeks in, but there's no doubt that Matt LaFleur is the NFL Coach of the Year 3 weeks into this young NFL season. What does it mean, though, for moving forward into Week 4? Look, Jordan Love, he was limited at practice. They then elevated Sean Clifford from the practice squad to the active roster on Saturday. That was a telltale sign that Jordan Love was not going to be playing on Sunday. When he suffered that knee injury, it was that he was going to miss multiple weeks. Well, this week made it multiple weeks by being the second game that he missed. He's been moving well, but he surely was not yet ready for that. The Packers did not want to divulge when they determined that it would be Malik Willis, but I know that the Tennessee Titans prepared all week like it was going to be Malik Willis, so they weren't necessarily surprised despite what the outcome of the game wound up being for them. So, look, if things continue to trend in the direction that they have been trending for the last week plus, I would anticipate that Jordan Love would be ready for this upcoming week. But again, want to see him get into the practice week on Wednesday before making any ultimate determinations.
Yeah, no need to rush based on what Willis has done there. Their security blanket is working out there. But in Tennessee, when you talk about what Will Levis has done, 8 turnovers. We saw 3 there, those 2 interceptions and that fumble. His head coach, Brian Callahan, has been very critical of his QB's play so far. What are you hearing about the level of commitment and confidence with Levis, what we've seen after 3 weeks?
I think that they are committed to Will Levis right now. This pick right there was just Jair Alexander watching a whole lot of film. The second pick that he threw that we showed earlier at the end of the game, you know, you're down 2 scores, you're trying to make something happen. It's 3rd and long. Yeah, whatever. That to me doesn't really matter. He did not make any boneheaded mistake that wound up costing the team the game like he did in the first 2 weeks, right? We could be talking about a 2-1 Tennessee Titans team. I think that they lost this one pretty honestly against the Green Bay Packers, and you can't really pin it just on Will Levis like you could those 2 terrible mistakes that, you know, probably changed the outcome of those games in week 1 and 2. They have Mason Rudolph as the backup. You know, there's a huge game for them in terms of, you know, you need to get a win next week against the Miami Dolphins. We'll see if Miami is starting Skylar Thompson, if he's healthy, if it's going to be Tim Boyle, if Snoop Huntley, the former Pro Bowl quarterback, can ultimately get up to speed and perhaps start for the Miami Dolphins. But that's a game where if you are the Titans and you go with Will Levis in that game, and the Dolphins have not looked good, have not looked good at all without Tua Tagovailoa, then if you lose that game with Will Levis, I think there are going to be very, very serious conversations in Nashville about what to do at the quarterback position moving forward. I don't think that we're going to see the change this week. Could be surprised. Certainly was surprised this time last week when we were talking about the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young. But I do see Tennessee right now hanging on to Will Levis as it stands on Monday morning for Week 4, and then that's going to be a big game against the Miami Dolphins.
All right, we'll see how that pans out there. JJ, we've got about 90 seconds. We're going to dub this MRI Mondays. A lot of injuries across the league. I want you to take a look at this and maybe some of those impactful names. What is the most critical one or one that calls for concern when you look at this list?
All right, so Herbert, the fact that he re-aggravated that ankle, the fact that he was able to play at all on Sunday was incredible. We will certainly monitor him. Would imagine he is going to be very limited at practice through the week. We talked about Skylar Thompson. You have Sam Darnold there. He said after the game that he was good. He wasn't really diving into details about that. He did come back and play, so that was positive. Still awaiting MRI results from the great North up there. Myles Garrett has that MRI on his foot. I won't at all be surprised to see him miss a game, perhaps. And then Sam Laporta had that ankle. We are still awaiting more updates from the Detroit Lions on Laporta. But let's remember, they have this game, and then the Lions have a Week 5 bye. So they play Seattle on Monday Night Football, and then they have a bye. So if there's any concern for Laporta with these NFC championship caliber Lions, maybe you rest him going into this early bye week.
All right, so we'll see, of course, throughout the day and throughout the rest of the week when it comes to those on that list. Before I let you go, T. Higgins, we finally get a chance to see him. Said he's healthy, he's ready to go tonight with Cincy. What does this do for that passing offense, Joe Burrow, and this team as a whole looking for a win?
Yeah, they need the win. They need the win desperately. We know that this is a group that has started off slowly in the month of September the last couple of years. There's no more excuses for this group, certainly going up against this Washington team. So it's going to be fantastic to watch T out there. You have a fairly healthy Cincinnati Bengals group finally. Hopefully Jamar Chase can get out of his own head and play the game of football between the white lines and not talk to the officials, because now he's $32,000 lighter in the pocket after last week against the Kansas City Chiefs. So very, very excited for seeing the return to Cincinnati Bengals offensive football tonight.
All right, we'll see what happens there. He is Jonathan Jones, as always, tapping in on Monday for everything around the league. Appreciate it as always, JJ. Don't forget the conversation continues on fantasy football today. And we just showed you that MRI list. Not saying that anybody will be out, but you might want to find a little insurance there. FFT always giving you anything and everything when it comes to those waiver wires and available roster spots. Just tap in and give them a listen.